Hi guys, this is Umair. I'm back with another tutorial series, and this time I'm going to be talking about design patterns. I have been creating videos on Angular, Java, C#, game programming, Android development and much more. But today I thought to create a more advanced level programming course because design patterns require some programming experience. So for the beginner programmers who are already writing programs needs to learn what are design patterns. Before that, I want to let you know, make sure you subscribe my channel and like this video. So let's get started. What are design patterns? Design patterns provide solutions for common programming problems. It provides guidelines for a flexible and maintainable code. It don't belong to the solution for a specific software. Like if you think about design patterns are for specifically for the e-commerce site, design patterns for a social media site. No, it is specifically to the coding point of view, but it provides the solutions in developers perspective. So it speed up software development process and software upgradation. It is not a framework or a library. Just like for a web development we use library like jQuery, framework like Angular, or it is not a package actually, but it is a guideline that can be used even before writing any piece of code. So what are the prerequisites of starting this course? I want all of you let you know that before you start this course you must have an experience in at least one object oriented programming language, because design patterns are all about how to use classes, how to apply different relationships among classes, how to use inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, association, composition, interfaces and much more. So that require you to have experience in at least one programming language like C++, C#, Java, Python, Ruby, or any other object oriented language. And the programming language that I'll be using in this course will be Java, but that is not compulsory for you to know, because design patterns are not specific to any language. It can be used in any object-oriented programming language once you get the idea of how to design different patterns, how to use these techniques and guidelines in different kinds of problems. So you must know the basics of class diagrams as well, because I'll be showing you and elaborating you and explaining you different concepts of patterns with the help of class diagram. You can use any other language and follow the same technique and guideline like I'll be doing in Java. I'll be using Eclipse and Java for explaining you, but you can use C#, Python, C++ or any other language to follow along with me. So what are the different topics that I'll be covering in this course? These are the different topics. These design patterns are the most famous design patterns, and almost every designer or architecturer use the design pattern for the maintainable and a flexible code. So first one is the observer pattern that I'll be starting with. After that I'll be talking about strategy pattern, decorator pattern, singleton pattern, collection pattern, state pattern, and lastly the factory pattern. Hi guys, so now we are going to talk about our first pattern, that is observable. So what is observable pattern? You might have experienced in your daily life, you are browsing the internet and you are watching any YouTube video on any particular channel. Let's take an example of my channel. You might want to subscribe to my channel, and whenever I will upload any new video, you will get notified through email, through notification on YouTube, or by any means. Then there might be many people who are subscribing to my channel, and all of them are getting notified whenever any change occur. So it can be on a website or a mobile app. If you have subscribed to any newspaper website, then any new article when that will be uploaded on that website, you will get notified through mail, through message, or through any means. So that notification from that subject, whether it's a website, app, YouTube, anything, that is called observable. You are notified through a subject when you will subscribe. In the same way, you can unsubscribe that website or YouTube, and then you will stop getting notified from that website or an app or a YouTube. So this is what we are going to be implementing in this video. So I have created empty classes. This is the main class that has a main method. I'm using Java, as I mentioned in my first video, that it is not particularly the Java, but the idea behind it is to teach you what is observer pattern. You can follow this concept, this idea that I'm using in other object-oriented language like C#, Python, Ruby, or any other language. So I have a data class. It has nothing, an empty class. Just I have imported this library, and I have observer interface. I have this student class. All right. So first of all, I'll come back to this data. You can consider this data as a subject, whether it's a YouTube, it's a newspaper website, it's any subject that will contain any particular data or a message or any data that is fetched from a server. So this is the observer interface that is going to be implemented by this student, and student is one observer. There can be many observers, student, teacher, users, or anybody. Okay, so let's come back to our data, and inside it, first of all, I need to define the data for this data class. Right now, just for elaborating purpose, I will add the data in a string, but we can have any large data for it to be worked. So first of all, I will use a private attribute, and I will call my data a message of type string. Okay, so after that, we need to store a list of all the subscribers that are needed to be notified whenever that message exists. At first, this message will contain nothing but an empty message, but whenever this message contains something, all the subscriber needs to be notified. So in this class, we need to store the reference, store the list of all the subscriber or the observer. So that's why I have imported this java.util class. You might have different class in other languages, but this is I have imported because I want to use array list class, because I want to store the reference of all the students, all the observers. Okay, so I will use private array list, and that is of type observer and observers. Okay, let's save this file. And this is the array list that is going to contain the list of all the observers of this interface. Okay, and I'm using the concept of polymorphism. You must know what is polymorphism, as I mentioned in my first video. So after that, I need to create a constructor for this class, public data. And inside this constructor, I need to instantiate this variable observers equals to new array list, and that is of type observer. All right, so let's save this. Now we need to create a message for registering this observer, registering a subscriber. So this data, you can consider this data any website or YouTube. So that particular subject must contain the methods for subscribing and unsubscribing. Okay, but not the outsource student or teacher who are using that subject. Okay, so public void register observer, and it's going to receive the observer instance. So observer O, and inside it, I need to use the method add of this array list class in order to add this observer. So I will use observers dot add o. I'm going to copy this method and paste it right below, and I will change its name from register observer to remove observer, and I will use the remove method to remove this observer instance from this array list. Okay, and after that I need to identify whether this message has been changed or not, it has any value inside it or not. If yes, then notify all the observer that this message have been generated within this data class. Okay, so I will use public void notify observers, and inside it I'm going to iterate through all the observers that are stored within this array list class. Okay, so I will use a for loop int I equals to 0, I less than observers dot size I plus plus. So in this loop I'm going to identify whether that any observer exists in this array list or not. So I will use observer equals to of type observer and observers dot get I. Okay, what this line is gonna do is it's going to call the get method, and it's going to use the index of this loop variable whether any particular observer exists in this index or not. So if that observer exists, then I'm going to use this variable observer, and I'm going to call the update message. Right now update message doesn't exist in our observer class, observer interface. So let it have a variable for error for now. Later on I will add this update method within this interface. Okay, so let's leave it for now. And after that I need to generate two setter and getter method. You might be using C#, Java, Python. You must know that what are assessors, what are mutators. So I'm going to use public void set message. It's going to receive a message, and it's going to use message equals to message. So I have set the message, and after that I will get this message. I don't need to send anything. Instead I need to receive a message. So return this dot message. One thing I want to mention here, if you don't know object-oriented programming in Java, I have created a long video on object-oriented programming in Java. I'm going to give the link of that video in the description below of this video. So you might want to check that out if you don't know what is inheritance, polymorphism, how to create classes, what are setter getters. So that's it for this class. I'm going to save this class. Now let's go to our observer interface. So in this observer interface, first I need to add this update method. So public void update, and that is going to receive a message. In interface, as we know that it doesn't contain any body. Instead we just write the definition of our method that is going to be implemented by the child classes. That is called a concept of polymorphism that I'm going to be using. So public void display. So let's save this interface. Now you can see that error has gone because now the update method exists within this interface. Now within the student class, I'm going to implement that implements observer. It is showing me an error because interface is asking me to implement all these methods within the child class that is implementing this observer interface. So within this student class, I need to write public void update string message. I have implemented the update message. Now let's add a display message. All right, now the error should be gone. Error has gone. Now above these two methods, I just wrote these two methods before because I wanted to remove the error. So within this student class, I need to write private string message, and after that student constructor. Within the student constructor, I need to send out the instance of this data because I want to give the let's say that data, okay. So this student should have control to subscribe to this data or unsubscribe to this data. Rather, this data forcefully subscribe this particular student or any other class that is implementing this observer interface to be forced to subscribe to that data. So I'm sending out this data instance to the student constructor, and within the student constructor, I'm going to register this student to this data. So I'm going to use data dot, and I'm going to call this register observer method, and I'm going to send out the instance of this student. So register observer, and within the parentheses, I'm going to send out this. This refers to the instance that this particular student. Okay, so within the update message, I need to update this attribute. So I will use this dot message equals to message, and after that update occur, I need to print that out. So for printing, I will use this function. So inside it, I will call this dot message. So instead, as it updates the message, I can also call this display message separately, but for now I can also call whenever this message gets updated, I need to call a display message. Straightforward. Okay, so let's save this class, let's save this interface, let's save this data class. Now let's come back to our main class that is going to be using all these three interface or classes. So within the main method, first of all, I need to create the instance of this data class. So I will write data equals to the new data. So new instance have been created. Now I need to create the instance of this observer. Student is an observer because it is implementing the observer interface. So let's come back to main.java, and now I will use the polymorphism concept. I will use the observer interface, and I will use the std equals to, and storing the reference of this student class. Okay, so I will write student, and as we know that within the constructor of the student, it requires the data. So that using this data, it's going to call this function and register itself to this data. Okay, so I will send out this data. Now this particular student has been subscribed to this data. Okay, now let's create a variable message equals to, let's say, hello world. All right, so now right now this particular attribute of this data class contains nothing. Okay, because we haven't called anything from this class. Right now we need to call this set message so that this message contains something. We don't want to notify this student observer class that new message has come, and when it checks out, it contains nothing. The message has nothing, instead the empty string. Okay, so I will use the data dot set message, and I will send out message. Okay, now that a message has been sent. Right now I have myself stored any value in case if you are getting the data from user or calling any server to receive the data, we must check out whether the received data is empty or not. It doesn't matter that you are receiving a string, it can be any type of data. You need to add a condition to that specific type of data. Okay, right now I know it is not empty string, that's why I didn't add a condition. So data or set message, I have sent out the message, and after that I'm going to check out if, let's add a condition. So data dot get message dot equals in Java, this dot equals method is used to check the equality between two strings. So I'm setting out a message, and after that I am calling this get message to receive that message back again and check out whether it's empty or not. Okay, if this method is going to receive an empty string, this condition will get true. Okay, but I don't want to receive an empty string. Instead I will add an or not before this whole condition, so that this data that is going to receive the string should not be equal to the empty string. Okay, and within inside I'm going to notify this observer that there is a data exist. Okay, so how can I notify? I can use this notify observer. It's going to iterate through all the observers, and it's going to send out the message through this update message. This is where, okay, so I will use data dot notify observers. All right, so let's save this file, and it's going to send out that message to this update function, and it's going to receive it, store it in the message attribute, and after that it's going to call out display method, and within the display method it's going to print out that message. So let's run our code, and I'm going to use this sign to run our code and run it, and this is the output. Within the console window you can see the hello world has been printed. Okay, I hope that you got the idea. If I would like all of you to write another class that is going to implement, let's say a teacher class that is going to be implementing this observer, and the same thing is going to be written within that teacher class. So now I want to show you what if I unsubscribe this student with this data, with this subject, with this website or a application or a YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to use this remove observer so that I'm going to check out whether the message is printed after calling the notify observers again. So after this if condition, I'm going to use data dot remove observer, and I'm going to send out std. Okay, so it's going to call out this remove observer, and that observer is going to be removed from this array list. Okay, so now I will copy this if condition, and now the message exists there. Okay, this condition will get true, and it will obviously get inside this if condition. Okay, what if now it's going to call out this notify observers, and it's going to iterate through this loop. Right now, if that particular observer exists within this array list, then it's going to call update method. Otherwise it's not going to call that update method. Okay, so let's save this file, and I'm going to run my code. You can see the only one hello world message has been printed. because I have notified and called this notify observer method 2 times. It should have printed hello world 2 times. Now I'm going to comment this line. Okay, now I'm not removing that particular observer from data class. So now if I run my code again, you can see 2 hello words have been printed because I commented this line that particular observer is not unsubscribed from this data class. So that was it for this video for the observer pattern. I have tried my best to explain you what is observer pattern, what is the usage of it, and how to write multiple classes and interface for it. In Java and other classes, I just want to let all of you know that there are some built-in classes as well that provide the built-in function for registering, for removing, for notifying. I don't want to use the built-in classes because I wanted to give you the concept, the idea that how the observer pattern works. So for explaining you in a better way, I wanted to implement it in my own custom style. Okay, if you want to check the built-in classes, different programming languages might have different built-in classes. In Java it is called observable class, and this data class needs to implement that observable interface. Okay, but I didn't use it. Make sure you write this one as it is that I have written in order to understand it fully, what's going on behind the scenes. Hi guys, so now I'm going to talk about strategy pattern in Java. Earlier I created a video on observer pattern. It's been a long time since I have created last video. So before starting strategy pattern, I just want to let all of you know that I have uploaded all these patterns code. If you want this code, you can go to the GitHub account, and I have given the link of this code in the description below of this video. You can get that code just by clicking on that link, and you just need to fork it and you can use that code. So let's get started. So first of all, what is a strategy pattern? Strategy pattern is a kind of thing when you want to decide based on the data that what you want to do. Just like if you take an example of a map, you need to decide that which way you want to choose to get to your destination. Or if you talk about any mathematical operation, we have one function that needs to perform an operation, and on giving it a data based on the operator, whether it's addition, whether it's subtraction, multiplication or division, you need to perform the operation on it. So right now I have created a strategy project in my Eclipse, and I have created an empty files in it. I have main.java, I have mystrategy.java, I have the selection sort strategy.java, I have bubble sort strategy.java, and use strategy. So in this example, what I want to show you, I'll be creating arrays and I'll be sorting that array, and before sorting that array, I need to decide whether I want to apply the selection sort, whether or I want to apply the bubble sort before giving it some data. So first of all, I have created my strategy.java file. So in this file, I need to actually, this is an interface, and in this interface I need to create a function that needs to be implemented in both the classes, in selection sort strategy and in bubble sort strategy. So in this interface I need to create public int array because it's gonna return a sorted array, so that needs to be an int array, and I'll give it a name sort array, and it's gonna take a parameter of array. As we know that interface only contain abstract methods that doesn't have any body, so I've created an empty method that needs to be implemented in the child classes. So let's save this file, and in the selection sort you can see that I have already implemented my strategy class, and that has become the parent of this selection sort strategy class. And inside this class I have implemented this sort array, this function, within this child class. Okay, and this is a best way to carry on with the strategy pattern. We need to create an interface, and all those functions that are written within the interface needs to be implemented in all the classes, because all the child classes are different strategies that we need to use based on the data, based on the criteria of the data that we want to use. So inside the sort array, I need to write some code for sorting an array. So let's write that code. I'm not going to be explaining you the logic of sorting an array using selection sort because it's not that topic. So first of all, I will write a for loop I equals to 0 and I less than array dot length minus 1 I plus plus, and after that I will write int index equals to I for int j equals to I plus 1, j is less than array dot length and j plus plus. And within the internal for loop, I will write an if condition to check if array at the place of I is less than array index, and this in this if condition I need to write index equals to j. All right, and now I'll come outside the internal for loop and I will write int smaller num equals to array index equals to array I, and lastly I will take that back in my array index. So I will write smaller num. Okay, and after that, after outside the external for loop, I'm returning that array because this is the sorted array once that code is going to be executed. So let's save it and let's save my strategy. Now before writing anything inside the bubble sort strategy, I just want to use this strategy. So in my use strategy class, I have created this class just to separate things from different classes, because this can only be used when we want to use it, not for while we are generating the data or we are calling the functions. So I could write the same code within the main, but I wanted to separate the code of using that strategies. So within this use strategy, I need to create a few functions, but before that let's create a property. So I will write my strategy that variable is going to take the type of strategy which we want to use. That's why I have given the data type to this variable my strategy. Okay, so within this class I need to create function that is going to be the public function. So I will write use strategy, and that's going to take the parameter of type of strategy which we want to use. So I will write strategy and strategy, and inside this function I will write this dot my strategy equals to strategy. Okay, and after that I will perform that strategy. So I will write perform strategy and I'll give it an array. So while performing the strategy, I need to call the functions of these classes. Okay, so if you already know the polymorphism, then you must know that with the help of this variable we can call the functions of the child classes. So I will write return my strategy dot sort array, and I'm going to send out array. So let's save this file. Let's save this file. So before using it, let's write a code. It's not going to take a lot of time. So let's come to it, and I'm going to write a sorting array code for the using the bubble sort. So I will write int temp equals to 0 for int I equals to 0, I is less than array dot length I plus plus, and inside it I'm going to write another for loop j equals to 1 and j is less than array dot length and j plus plus, and inside the internal for loop I need to write an if condition, and that is going to be if j minus 1 is greater than array j, and inside this if condition I'm going to write temp array j minus 1. I'm just shifting the values among the indices of that array. So j minus 1 equals to array j, and lastly let's bring back the values from temp. Okay, so that is going to sort our array. I need to write the equality sign. So let's save this file. Now I have defined an interface, and these classes are implementing that interface and implementing the sort array function. Okay, and within the use strategy I am sending out and instantiating this variable. Once that is going to be instantiated, I am just performing that strategy by calling the sort array function using the variable of that parent class. Okay, we know that the parent class variables, parent class, the variable that is taking the address of that class can have the reference of its child classes. Okay, so let's come back to our main.java file, and inside it, first of all, I'm going to define two arrays. One is even array, and let's create some data. Even number of arrays, because the number of elements within the arrays within this array is 6, so this becomes even. So I'm going to copy this one and paste it right below. An odd array, and I'm going to remove the last element from this array. There can be different strategies, if there are, I have just find out that if there are even number of array elements in this array, then I'm going to call the bubble sort strategy, and if it's odd, I'm going to call selection sort strategy. So you can have different purpose to call those functions. So let's first create an instance of the my strategy use strategy class and send out an instance to this function. Okay, so I'm going to use strategy use strategy 1 equals to use strategy, and it needs to have a parameter, and I'm going to give it bubble sort strategy. Okay, so I'm calling this constructor to construct and giving the parameter of the instance of this bubble sort strategy. So after that, I am going to add a new variable, that is result equals to use strategy dot perform strategy. Okay, and now I'm sending out that even array. Use strategy 1, that is the name of this variable. Okay, so in order to see any changes I need to print all the elements of this even array. So I will write for int I equals to 0, I is less than even array I plus plus, and system dot out dot print line and result within the square brackets I will write I need to write even array dot length. It's giving me an error. All right, so that's pretty much done. As I'm testing this bubble sort strategy, so let's save all the files, and I'm going to run out this program to see the result right below in my console window. So let's run this out, and you can see the 2, 4, 6, 11, 16 and 23, all the elements have been sorted in ascending order depending upon the how our algorithm is being performed. If we wanted to sort in descending order, I can simply change it to less than. Right now it's greater than. Okay, but the purpose is to perform a strategy, how strategy works, how strategy pattern works. Okay, and you can see that these were the sequence of elements earlier, and after it's being sorted, the sequence of elements is like this. So now I'm going to copy this one. I need to test out the selection sort strategy, and I need to bring down a cursor a bit. So I need to write print line again, and it's gonna take a cursor down one line. So now I will copy these 3-4 lines of code, and I will change the variable type and bubble sort strategy. I'm going to change the name of it, selection sort strategy, and strategy 2, result 2, and I need to send out the odd. Actually, I am hard coding and sending out the even array and odd array. In large application, you need to get the values from user and need to test out whether it's actually odd or not. So after that, you need to call these functions, but I know that this is even number of elements, this is odd number of elements, so that's why I'm directly sending those arrays to this function. So let's run it. Odd array length, and I need to change the variable result 1 from result 2. Okay, so let's save this one and let's run it. And if I just scroll up, you can see that this is our sorted array while calling our bubble sort strategy, and this is actually it's not being sorted. Let's see where was the problem. So the problem was within our logic. Actually, I have written I in my array. Actually, this is not I need to use the index number, the variable that is used within the inner for loop. So I will change it to J. Now let's save this file and let's run it. And now you can see this is the first sorted array that is even number of elements, and this is the second array that is sorted when I send the odd number of elements. So that was it. I hope that you have got the idea how the strategy works and how to start writing a strategy pattern. First, you need to write an interface and create the child classes. Then you need to create use a strategy class. If you have another requirement, you can extend the classes as per your requirement, but that is enough structure for performing the strategy pattern. So that's for it. In the next video, I'm going to talk about decorator pattern, and make sure to subscribe my channel and like this video and comment below if you have any question. Thanks for watching. Hi guys, this is Umair, and this is another video on my series design patterns, and this time I'll be talking about decorator pattern. So what is this pattern? It is used to extend the functionality of any particular object without affecting its previous functionality. Just like you are going in a restaurant and you order a pizza and you want to extend the pizza with further topping. You want extra onions, you want extra tomatoes, And if I talk about another example, if you are watching a television, your channel will still exist, but you want another channels, just like you want another sports channel. You need to extend the sport channel into the existing list of your channels. So in this video I will give you an example of an ice cream. You go and order an ice cream, but you want a topping of a chocolate or a peanuts over your ice cream, but I won't be affecting the ice cream itself, because this is not the purpose of Decorator Pattern. So you can see on my screen I have created a new project, Decorator, and inside it I have only one file, test.java, right now. So I will create a few files for working with the Decorator Pattern. So first of all, I'll be creating an interface with the name ice cream. So let's go to my package and I'll click on interface and I will name it ice cream. So inside my interface I will create two methods. First one is the description and second one will return the cost of ice cream. So let's save this interface. Now I will create two further classes that will implement this interface. Let's say we want a vanilla ice cream and a strawberry. So let's create these two classes. So I will create class and I will name it vanilla. Let's create another class and I will name this class strawberry. So both of these classes will be implementing. Let's save this file. I'm gonna close it. Let's close this one as well. So vanilla and strawberry. So first of all I will implement vanilla with an ice cream. So it is asking me, actually it is implements. So now it will give me an error to implement all the unimplemented methods. So it has imported those two methods that were written within this interface. So inside my description I will write return or any string vanilla ice cream, and the cost of this ice cream, let's say return 5.0. So I will copy this much code and I will come right here and I will paste it, and I'll change it to strawberry, the description, and I will change the cost of this strawberry. So let's say it is 7.0. Let's remove 10 from the cost of vanilla ice cream. So up till now I haven't done anything related to Decorator Pattern, but this is required to carry on with that pattern. So I have created an interface and these two classes are implementing that interface. So in order to work with Decorator Pattern I need to create another abstract class that is going to implement this interface, the ice cream interface, and that abstract class can have further variables, further methods. So let's create an abstract class and I'll name this class ice cream topping. So inside this class I will just create a variable or an object of my interface. Okay, so ice cream and ice cream, and this abstract class is going to implement ice cream. It is giving me an error, but I don't want to implement the methods, so I need to add abstract keyword. So the error has gone because abstract class if implements any interface, it doesn't need to implement all the methods that are written within that interface. Okay, so that's good up till now. So I will create two more classes. what I want to add in topping. I want a chocolate over an ice cream, or I want a peanut. So I'll create two classes. One is chocolate, another is peanut. So I will right click and create a class, and I will name it chocolate, and let's create another class for the peanuts. So peanuts, and inside this chocolate, that is going to extend that ice cream topping class. That is an abstract, so I will extend ice cream topping. So it is asking me to add unimplemented methods, but if you see, I haven't defined any methods inside this abstract class. This abstract class is implemented this interface, and this class is extending this class ice cream topping. So it is asking me to implement actually the methods that are within this ice cream interface. So if I hover it and add unimplemented methods, you can see that it has implemented description and cost, which is actually the methods of the ice cream interface. So I will return chocolate, and before writing the cost of this chocolate, I need to fetch the data of the actual cost of my ice cream. So I will create a constructor, public chocolate and ice cream, so this dot ice cream equals to ice cream. So this is ice cream, so let's save it, and now error should be gone. So this variable is basically this variable, okay, because this class is extending this ice cream topping class, and the variables and the methods will be implemented inside this child class, that is chocolate. So that's why I have written the constructor for this chocolate class, and as a parameter I have given it the ice cream variable, the object, and then I'm storing that object within this variable that is coming from that parent class. So now from within this I can get the cost of the ice cream, that can be vanilla or strawberry, that is up to us that which one we want. So that will be inside this variable. So I will write this dot ice cream dot, and it is giving me all the methods that were written in my interface. So I will write cost plus, and what is the cost of chocolate over that ice cream? So let's say 1.0. So this is the cost of my ice cream with the topping of chocolate. Now I need to find the cost of my ice cream with the topping of peanuts. So I will just copy this much code and I will paste it right here. So I will change the name of my constructor from chocolate to peanuts, and I will change the description from chocolate to peanuts as well, and I will change the costs. What is the cost of peanuts? The ice cream cost, and the peanut, let's say 2.0. Now we need to test our application, how we can proceed further to test this decorator pattern. So first of all, let's create an ice cream object of a vanilla type equals to new vanilla. If you have studied polymorphism, you must know that the child class object can be stored within the parent class variable. So this is basically the description of polymorphism. So that's why this is the child class, and this object is being stored within the variable of this ice cream interface, which is the parent. Okay, so if I just try to print this out, and I will write vanilla. Let's add a description as well, simple vanilla cost plus vanilla.cost. So let's save it, and if I run it, you can see at the bottom it is showing simple vanilla cost 5.0. that is the cost of simple vanilla ice cream. Now if I create an object of my vanilla ice cream with a topping of chocolate, so ice cream, I'm going to name the variable vanilla with peanuts equals to new peanuts. And if we go to the peanuts class, you can see its constructor require an object of an ice cream. So I will give it an object that I have just created of vanilla ice cream. I want to have my peanuts over my vanilla ice cream. Later on you can also add an vanilla peanuts, the simple peanut or chocolate on your strawberry ice cream. So I will just give it vanilla. So this peanuts object, that is a grandchild of this ice cream interface. So the children of any level can be stored within the variable of any level parent class or an interface. So I will just print now vanilla with peanuts cost. So now I will print out vanilla with peanuts dot, and I will just call my cost method. So if I run my application now, you can see that it has printed 7.0. So how is it that it is returning me 5.0, which is the cost of a vanilla ice cream. And if I go to peanuts, and this is the cost of my vanilla ice cream, this is what I'm sending, and this is adding up within the cost of vanilla, so that becomes 7.0. so up till now our code is working fine. Now we need to test the cost of my chocolate. So I will just copy these two lines and I will paste it, and I will change the name of my variable from vanilla with peanuts to vanilla with chocolate, and I will change the name of my object class. So this is chocolate, and again I'm sending out vanilla to it. So I want to get the cost of a vanilla ice cream with the chocolate as a topping. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it right here, vanilla with chocolate cost. So let's save it and run it, and you can see that it has printed vanilla with chocolate cost is 6.0 because the cost of single chocolate is 1, and it is adding up within the cost of my ice cream. We can extend these two classes further to add up the cost of chocolate and peanuts both, but it's up to you how you want to extend it, and you can also test it with the strawberry, which I haven't done it, but I want you to do it yourself for your better understanding. So up till now I hope that you have got the idea of decorator pattern with this real world example. So stay tuned. I'll be creating a new decorator pattern in my next video. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe my channel and like this video. Thanks. Hi guys, this is Umair. I'm back with another video of my series design patterns. In this video I will talk about Singleton pattern, which is the easiest and one of the mostly used design pattern in software development. So what is Singleton pattern? In your phone you have a keys or a security code that you need to add in order to use your phone, and that is an object that should be created only once in order to use it. Or if you have worked in various applications that require an admin access, and there can't be more than one admin, so we will create a class and that will require only one object of that user, and that user would be an admin. But in this video I will take an example of my Hi guys, this is Umair. I'm back with another video of my series design pattern, and in this video I will talk about Singleton pattern, which is the easiest and the mostly used design pattern in the software development. So what is singleton pattern? It is basically let us create a single and one and only object of a class. So if I talk about examples which I'll be explaining you in this video, if we have only one settings object for an application, like if we are using Eclipse, we are using any software in our phone or in the desktop, that has only one instance of the whole settings. If we want to change the color of this IDE, the Eclipse, we can't set the two colors because the settings object has only one instance. So if we are working on a phone, then we might have to add up our security code in order to switch on the phone and use it. So there are various examples that we can work with it. So right now you can see on my screen I have only one test.java main class, and I'm gonna create another class which is called settings, and I will consider this setting of a simple note-taking app because all the application must have the single settings object. So what structure I'll be following in order to create and write the code within this class. So first of all, let's create a private static and settings object, and I will name it first object, and I will give it a null things. So I have created an object, the instance of this class within this class. So that will be a static because I want this variable to be accessed directly with this class name through a method. So what if I want to create a constructor of this setting class? If I create a constructor, then this class can be used to create multiple objects. So how to avoid it? I will create a constructor with a private identifier so that this constructor shouldn't directly be accessed outside this class. So how can then I create an instance of this class? I will create another public static settings get object, which is a method, and within this method I will check if first object is equals to null, then I will create equals to new settings, and outside this if condition I will return first object. So that's it. This is how the singleton pattern works. I will call this method and it's gonna check if this variable is null. If it is null, then I will create an instance of this class and I will store that instance within this variable, and then I will return the same variable. So if it is not null, then I will return the same old object of this settings class. So let me create few properties of the setting class, like I was talking about the font and the color. So let's create a private string font equals to Calibri, private string color equals to black. So let's assume that we have only two properties of this settings object. So let's create the accessors for it, the getter setter I mean. So I will write public void set font string font name, and I will copy this method, paste it, and set color and the color name, and inside it I will write this dot font equals to font name, and this dot color equals to color name. And after that I need to get these values, and I will create the getters for these two variables, and I will write get font and get color, and the return type should be string and it shouldn't have any parameter. and I will add a return keyword before this. So it's been done. Now let's test this singleton class, whether if it is allowing us to create multiple instances of this class or not. So let's come back to our test class, and inside it, let's first create the instance of this settings object by calling a constructor, and we want it to generate an error. So let's first check setting equals to new setting. So you can see it is giving me error. So let's run it and see what is that error. So you can see it is saying that unresolved compilation problem. The constructor settings is not visible because this is what we wanted. I made it private because I didn't wanted this constructor to be directly accessed outside this class. So this is how we are restricting. Now let's get our one and only instance of this class by calling our getObject method. So settings dot getObject, and let's print out the color first, and color. So setting dot get color, and let's print that out now. So you can see the color is black. So let's print out the font. Now you can see we have got the color and the font, and it can't have more than one instance. And if we want to change the color or the font, it will only be applied to the same settings object that we are using right here. We can't have settings 2, settings 3. So this was the one example. There can be multiple examples. I hope that you have got the idea of how the singleton pattern works and what is the purpose of singleton patterns. It is used various in the various ways in various applications. So it was just to give you an overview of what is singleton pattern. You can extend it as much as you want. So I hope that you have liked this pattern, and make sure to subscribe my channel if you haven't. See you in the next video for another design pattern. Thanks. Hi guys, this is the 6th video of my design pattern. In this video I'm going to talk about Iterator pattern. This pattern is used to iterate through the collections in a sequence order without representing its internal detail. The collection can be anything, whether it's an array, it's an array list, linked list, or any kind of collection. We won't be caring about what type of collection it is, but the Iterator pattern is going to iterate through all these collections in a sequence manner and return us the data. It's also called the collection pattern because it works with the collections. So let's get started. I have created an empty project and created a main class inside this project. So for working with the Iterator pattern, we first need to have an interface called Iterator, and that interface, it's gonna have two methods. One is a boolean, it's going to return a boolean value, and other is the object that is going to be returned from the collection. So I'm going to create a new interface and I'm going to name it Iterator. So in this Iterator interface, I'm going to create two methods. So first one is public boolean, and in this method I'm going to check whether there exists any particular value in that collection or not. Means that we have iterated through the whole collections and we don't want to execute further. So I'm going to name it as next, and in the next method it's going to return each value from the collection. So I'm going to name it next. So this interface is going to have these two methods, and I'm going to create another interface called container, and that interface is going to return me this iterator. Okay, so I'm going to right click interface and I'm going to name it container. So it will only have one method and I'm going to name it iterator it's going to return an iterator, and the name of this method would be, let's say, get iterator. Okay, so it is an iterator, not iterator. So let's create the final class, and I'm going to name this class as what kind of collection we want to return. For just demonstration, I'm going to create this pattern with an array, and but you can use other collections for iterating through. So I'm going to name it students repo. All right, so this class is going to implement our container interface. So let's copy the name of my interface and implements, paste. Now it's asking me to implement the unimplemented methods that are written within this container interface. So if I hover on it, it is showing me that add unimplemented method. So I'll click on it. It has implemented the get iterator method that was written within this container interface. So within this get iterator method, I need to return an iterator. So before returning anything from here, let me first create an inner class, a nested class of students repo. So I'm going to create a private class, and I'm going to call it names iterator. Okay, so it's going to implement iterator. So what this method is going to return is a kind of an iterator. If you have studied about polymorphism, a parent class can have a child class as a receiver of parameter, or it can be returned as our child class. So we have a names iterator class that is implementing iterator, means that the iterator is the parent of this name. So whether we return an iterator class directly within this method, or we can also return the child of this iterator class. So right now the child of this iterator class is name iterator. So I'm going to return the return new and names iterator. Okay, I have constructed a new object of this class, and which is the child of this iterator. So I've returned this child from this method. Okay, so let me first define an array that I want to iterate through. So public string students and Umair, Ali, let's say Harris and Adam. Okay, so we have created an array, and from within this class, it is asking me to create unimplemented methods that are written within this iterator interface. So I hover my cursor on it and add those unimplemented methods. So I'm going to check whether there exists any particular value or not within this array, or where we have reached. So for that, let me define an index that will take care of the position of the values that we are fetching. So int index equals to 0. So within this method, I'm going to check whether there exists any value, or we have iterated the whole array or not. So I'm going to check if index is less than students dot length. Okay, then I'm going to return true, otherwise it's going to return false. Okay, so within the next method, I'm going to return the actual value from this array. So for returning the actual value, let me come inside this next method, and I'm going to check if this refers to the current instance of this class. So this dot, I'm going to call this method to check whether there exists any value or not. So this dot has next, and I'm going to return the value from my students array, and the index would be the index variable. Okay, and then it's going to return null if there doesn't exist any particular value and we have iterated the whole array. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let me cover this up again. I've created the interface, iterator interface that is going to be used right here within this class, and this container is going to be used from here. And from my main class, I'm going to create an instance of the students repo, and I'm going to create this get iterator method. I'm going to call this method. It's going to return me the whole instance of this names iterator, and from where I can use these two methods to fetch the data of this array. So let me come back to my main.java, and within this method, first of all, let me create an instance of my students repo class. So I will create students repo, and I'm going to name this object students repo equals to the students repo. Okay, so I've created a new instance of my students repo class, and now I need to create an instance of my iterator, and I don't need to create an instance because it is already being created from within this method. I've created an instance of this class, so with this object I can call this method and it's going to return me the instance of my names iterator, like here. Okay, so let me come back, and I'm going to write iterator equals to the students repo dot get iterator. So now I'm going to use the do while loop, because the first value I don't need to check the condition whether there exists an value, because I'm just taking I just know that there should be at least one value in that array. So I'm going to straight away the print the value of that array and do while, and I'm going to use the iterator dot has next. First value will be automatically printed, and after that it's going to check whether there exists any value or not. If there exists, then it's going to execute the body of this do while loop. So string name and iterator dot next. Okay, so actually it is showing me an error because I need to add a cost, because it is returning me an object. So I need to return it should be an object, it shouldn't be a string, because we are not sure whether the collection is an array. It can be a list, it can be array list, it can be a linked list. So the linked list is not a string, so we need to use an object so it becomes generic, and it's return the it will return the instance of each instance from that collection. Okay, so but where we are using this iterator pattern, we can add a typecast. If it is not an object, we can typecast it to string. If it is an object, then we are good to go. So I'm going to cast it with the string. So error has gone. Now I need to print out its value, print line, and print the name. Okay, so let me run this. So you can see it has printed name, Ali, Harris, and Adam. So let me add a new value. Let's say Bond. Okay, so let me run it again. So it has printed Bond as well. So as much values as we want to return from this iterator, we can add that thing, and we can also iterate through other collections, as I have already mentioned, like this array. So that was a basic and a small example of iterator pattern. We can extend it based on our requirement. So that was it. Stay tuned for the next patterns that I'm going to create the videos for next two patterns. I think the Singleton pattern or factory pattern is left, and one more is left. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe this channel and like this video. Thanks. Hi guys, it's me Umair back with another video, and I'm going to talk about state pattern in this video. So what is state pattern? In this pattern, we define different states, and based on the decision or the selection of different states, we execute different behaviors. And I will be giving you a basic example of playing a music and pausing a music. These are the states, and the behavior is if we the state is playing, then our music should be played. But I'm not going to be playing any music, just to I'll be just showing you a simple message that the music is being played and music is being paused. So let's get started. I have created an empty project with the name state, and inside it I have just created a main class, main.java. So before writing anything inside this class, I need to create few other classes to work with state pattern. So I'm going to right click my source, click, and I'm going to click class, and inside it I'm going to name it state. I'm not going to select the main method because the main method should be within only one class. So this is a class, actually it needed to be an interface, so I'm going to replace the class keyword with the interface. So within the interface I need to create abstract method, and in our case we just need to have one method, and that would be, let's say, do something. All right, and I'm going to create another class, and that class would be, let's say, music state, because this is our example. I'm click on finish. So inside this class I need to create an attribute state, and this attribute is of type this state. Okay, so I need to create two methods inside it, set state. I need to send a particular state, and I will just assign the state that is being sent in the parameter within this property. And another method I need is get state, and the return type should be state. So return state. So this is pretty much it for this class to be written. And now let's come back to our interface. Within this do something method, we need to pass the instance of this class. Okay, then we will create our behaviors that if we are playing a music or stopping a music. So let's receive the type of object of this music state class. So I will write music state, music state. Let's correct the spellings. So that's it. And now let's implement our behavioral classes. And in our case we need to create two classes. One is play state and other is pause state. So I'll right click here and create a new class, and I will name this class play state. And this class is going to implement our state interface. So let's add our unimplemented methods. What is it saying? Public class play state and the state. So add unimplemented method. So now I didn't save this file, that's why it wasn't showing that hint. So now I have implemented the do something method. Inside it, we need to call, when we will create an object of this class, we need to create an instance of our state object, okay, right here. And for creating it, I have created a set state method within this class. So from here, when we will create a new instance, a new object of this class, we will just call this method to create the state, and this variable is going to take an instance of this state. So inside this do something method, I need to use music state dot set state, and I need to send out the instance, the context of this whole class, and the context of this whole class can be get with this keyword, okay. And now we need to have some method inside it to show that whether what is the behavior of this state. So just for verifying if it's working, let's add a toString method, and I will return playing state. All right, so let's create a pause state class. Pause state, and I'm going to copy this whole code and paste it right here, and I just need to change the message pause state. All right, so let's save all these classes, and before moving further and testing out our state pattern code, let's rewind what we have written. We have created an interface, and we have defined an abstract method inside it called do something. It's receiving a music state object from this class that I haven't written yet. So this is the music state class, and this class is responsible for setting the state and getting what state we are in. So these are the behavioral classes that can be more. We can have a stop class, stop state, and we can just change the message, and the same code will work for the stop state as well. But just for explaining purpose, I have just added two state classes. So let's come back to our main class, and first of all, we need to create an instance of this music state class, because if we don't create a music state class, we won't be able to send a music state object to this do something method, okay. So first we need to create a music state class, new music state. All right, so we have created its new instance, and now let's create an instance of our, let's say first we want to create a play state class. So play state, and let's name it start state and play state, and we have this music state object, and we have this start state object, okay. So we can call it a play state. So let's say we change its name to play state, and now using our play state dot, we have got the hint that we have do something method to call, and then we will be able to send this music state class. So this play state have an instance of this class, because the state is the parent. If you know what is polymorphism, you should know that we can call the method that are written within the current class, or we can call the method that are in the parent class, the inheritance, okay. So play state dot do something and the music state, and let's try to print music state dot get state. All right, we don't need to call the toString method that we wrote in our these state classes, because toString is the global method. It is not we have just overridden this method, and if we call the simple object, then it will automatically be called this toString method. Okay, so the purpose of overriding this toString method is if we want to create and show a custom message when we call a toString method. So let's run it and see what it shows. So it shows playing state. So right now we send out our play state, so our behavior is working fine. The behavior is showing that our music is being played. So let's copy this whole code and paste it, and I'm going to change its name to pause state. Copy, paste, and change its name to pause state and replace this thing. Okay, so let's save it, and now this music state is being sent to the pause state, and we need to show a playing state, and after that we need to show a pause state method. So it is showing playing state, and then it is showing the pause state because we were at the playing state before it, and using the same object we didn't create a new music state object because the state will remain same, but the behavior according to the changing of the state, our behavior should be changed. So it showed that music is being played right here, and after that we created a new state without affecting this play state, and it automatically changed its own music state, and that is now the pause state. So this is how our state pattern works, and it is also called behavioral pattern. Make sure you like this video. If you have any question or any confusion, you can comment below and I will answer your questions. Stay tuned and see you in the next video. Thanks. Hi guys, this is Umair. I'm back with another design pattern video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the one of the most famous and most useful design pattern, and that is factory pattern. Factory pattern is used to create objects in a way that we don't expose the internal details, that how the object is being constructed with what parameters and what kind of data that object has. We just know that we need to create an object of a particular type, and then we ask a factory to create a particular type object, and it returns the created object to us. So I have just created an empty project right now, as you can see on my screen, and I have just main empty class, and before writing anything inside this main method, I need to design a pattern in a way that we will be able to create objects without exposing its detail. So I will create a new interface first, and I'm gonna call it animal. And in this interface it can have multiple abstract methods, but right now, just for explaining you guys, I just need to create a simple one abstract method. So I will create public void info, and this is an interface, and now I need to create its child classes. I'm going to be using the concept of polymorphism. So make sure you already know what is polymorphism. If you don't know, make sure check out my object-oriented programming video that is also in Java. So I have created a dog class, and this dog class is going to implement animal, and it is asking me, this is an animal and this is the dog. And now I need to just override this info method and public void info, and this is it. Now I need to create another class, a cat, and it's going to implement animal as well. Okay, so just hover it, and it's going to asking me that override that info method, just like I have done in this dog class. All right, so let's save it. Error has gone. Now all right, so now I have created two child classes. One is dog and other is cat. We can have different attributes. We can have multiple methods, its own methods, own properties within these two classes. But right now that's pretty much it for explaining factory pattern. Now I need to create another class, and that I'm gonna call it an animal factory, and that will be responsible of creating the objects of a dog or a cat. All right, so let's create a class and I'm going to name it animal factory. Let's finish it. And within this factory, I need to create a method that is going to return me the objects of a dog or a cat. So let's create a public method, and it's going to return me a type of animal, and that is the parent interface of these two child classes. Okay, if I return an animal and from within this method, if I return a cat or a dog, it's going to be returned as a type of animal because cat and dog are animal as well. The polymorphism, if you know that an object or a class have different forms. So dog is an animal and dog is dog as well. So now I need to send out what kind of object I need. So I need to send out an animal, a string type, and inside it I need to check if animal dot equals is of type cat, then return new cat. Okay, so let's copy this and paste it, and I'm going to change it else if it is dog, then return the object of dog. Okay, else I need to return null. Okay, it is giving me an error. Please add cost to animal. Well, this file is not being saved. I don't know the reason. So actually I have changed the name of my class because I already created a dog.java class in this project earlier. Then I deleted it. Maybe it was cached and remained in my directory, and that's why it wasn't saving the two files of same name. So I changed the name. In your case, the dog class, the name should work. So now the doggy is not giving me an error, and right now I'm returning the doggy from here. So right now you can see that we can have multiple parameters we can send to these constructors, but right now you can understand that I'm creating an empty object. It can be extended to any level. If we don't have the cat or dog, then I'm returning a null. So from the main class, first of all, I need to create an object of animal factory equals to the animal factory. Okay, and now let's say I need an animal of type dog, a doggy. Okay, so I need to, and doggy is also an animal, so I will receive it is returning me an animal of type animal. So I can't receive a dog in type of a doggy. Okay, so I need to receive it in a parent class, that is an interface. So I will call it animal1 equals to animal factory dot get animal, and I'm going to send it a dog. Okay, so I'm not creating objects directly within this main method or anywhere I want to use it. I'm just asking my animal factory that this is a kind or a type of animal I need, and I'm just sending out the string, and it is identifying what type of object it should construct, whether it is a cat, it is a doggy, or nothing. Okay, so now if I animal1.info, if I call an info and if I run it, and it hasn't printed anything, because let's write something inside it to identify this is a doggy. So let's copy this print line and I'm going to paste it right here, and this is a cat. Save and save. All right, and I have an animal of type dog, and it is being stored in an object of type animal, because the parent interface or a class object can receive an object of its child classes. Okay, if you know the concept of polymorphism. So now let's run it again. You can see it has printed doggy because I have sent out the dog as a parameter to this get animal method. So now let's copy these two lines and I'm going to paste it right here. Let's call it animal2 and I'm going to call it cat. Okay, and change it to animal2. Now that animal factory should return me a cat object, and it should print this is a cat. So let's run it, and you can see it has printed this is a doggy from the first info call, and it has printed this is a cat from the second info call. So now you can see that we are not exposing out the details directly from here, that how we are constructing our objects. Instead, we have created an animal factory that is responsible for creating objects of animals, whether it's a cat or a dog, and it is returning me a specific object of a class. And also it is explaining the concept of polymorphism within the factory pattern, and that is very important. I hope that you have liked it. You can extend it at any level you want. If you have any question, make sure you comment below. I will answer your question. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video.